Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final project on Starbucks. My name is Sydney.
My name is Gabby.
My name is Ellis.
And my name is Joseph.
So, to start off, we wanted to provide you with our executive summary. So, Starbucks is a global coffee leader with more than 35,000 stores worldwide. But beyond coffee, what really defines Starbucks today is its commitment to sustainability, innovation, and creating meaningful experiences for both customers and employees. In recent years, Starbucks has taken bold steps towards becoming a resource positive company. And what this means is that it's not just about reducing harm, but actively giving back, which is aiming to cut its carbon, water, and waste footprints by 2030. And that is a massive goal, and it requires more than just good intentions, but smart, data-driven decisions. And that is where our project comes in. Now, here we focus on how business analytics can support Starbucks in hitting those environmental and operational targets. More specifically, we looked at three key areas: how they manage their workforce, how they optimize inventory, and how they engage digitally with customers. So, by using descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics, we've explored how Starbucks can better understand what's happening across stores, forecast what challenges might arise, and make proactive decisions to improve outcomes. In the end, our goal was to deliver insights that help Starbucks run more effectively, reduce waste, and build a stronger connection with customers and employees, all while pushing forward their sustainability mission. Now, before jumping into the analytics framework, we want to take a moment and further clarify what Starbucks actually needs from data and what this project sets out to achieve. And as you can see on the slide, Starbucks has specific needs in three main areas, which is improving operational efficiency, advancing sustainability goals, and enhancing customer engagement. Now, to address these needs, our project is aimed towards applying descriptive analytics to uncover existing patterns, predictive analytics to forecast future needs, and prescriptive analytics to recommend targeted actions. And all of these efforts further contribute to Starbucks' broader commitment to cut its environmental impact by half in 2030. Now, they also align with progressing through the stages of the Big Data Analysis Model Maturity Index, moving Starbucks from basic data collection towards fully embedding analytics into strategic decision making. Now that we've outlined Starbucks' key needs and project goals, let's share how the big data strategy decomposition process, guided by the Big Data Business Maturity Model Maturity Index, helps Starbucks advance from basic data collection to becoming a fully data-driven, sustainable organization. We'll begin with the first phase of the maturity journey, which is business monitoring. At this point, at this basic level, monitoring is about tracking key data points to understand what's happening on the ground. For Starbucks, this includes keeping an eye on employee turnover and absenteeism across locations to catch patterns of instability in the workforce. They also need to monitor inventory spoilage and stockouts, especially for high impact products. These insights are critical to improving how inventory flows through the supply chain. Finally, they track digital behaviors like mobile app engagement, including how often customers use the order ahead feature, redeem rewards, or interact with digital campaigns. Now, once monitoring is in place, the next step is drawing insights from metrics. Here, the focus is on the why. For example, Starbucks can dig into historical labor data to identify mismatches between staffing and peak traffic hours, which is a key opportunity for smarter scheduling. They can also examine which product SKUs have low sales or high waste, which help guide decisions on menu optimization and stocking strategy. And on the digital side, looking at app usage trends helps uncover what drives customer loyalty and repeat engagement, and just as importantly, where customers drop off and disengage. Now, the third stage is where data starts informing real-time action. Starbucks can apply predictive models to build more dynamic shift schedules based on expected traffic and employee availability, which reduces burnout and improves efficiency. In inventory, demand forecasting can automate reorder points, help stores keep just the right amount of stock, which reduces both shortages and waste. And with customer data, Starbucks can push personalized offers through the app, tailoring promotions to customer behavior and increasing the likelihood of engagement and retention. And now moving on to data monetization, where in this phase, Starbucks can start to capture direct value from its data. So by using predictive models, they can reduce staffing and inventory costs while maintaining service quality, while they can also improve customer lifetime value by delivering targeted digital campaigns that speak directly to individual preferences and habits. And internally, performance data can help optimize employee onboarding and tracking, making the process faster and more effective. And finally, at the metamorphosis stage, data becomes part of the company's DNA, as Starbucks can empower store managers and real-time dashboards that help them make operational decisions in the moment, whether it's staffing adjustments, promotions, or waste reduction. Key performance indicators can also be aligned with Starbucks sustainability goals, so managers and teams are held accountable not just for profits, but also for environmental impacts. And at the broader level, the company begins to cultivate a true data-centric culture, one where innovation is continuous, sustainability is embedded into every business process, and employees at all levels are equipped to make informed, value-driven decisions.
So now heading into our cause and effect diagram, here we're using a fishbone diagram built from our 5 whys to identify some root causes or root cause problems for Starbucks. So at the top, we have predictive analysis, and at the bottom, we have prescriptive analysis causes. So let's start with predictive at employee turnover risk, which is caused by insufficient scheduling processes, as well as a majority of their workers being students or part-time workers. Next, we have staffing issues, so having understaffed Starbucks stores, as well as poor forecasting for popular store hours. So focusing on customer foot traffic and seeing when the most customers are going to be in the store, and then having adequate staffing for those hours. Next, for prescriptive, we have long wait times caused by too many menu options and complications with menu customization, as well as understaffed stores. And then we have employee burnout caused by inefficient machinery, as well as high workload or overscheduled employees. So all of these causes lead to our 2 root problems, which are 2% decrease in net revenue from the year 2024 to 2025, as well as a 13.8% decrease on the RepTrak popularity score from 2021 into 2025.
So in looking to repair some of these root causes, we look at Starbucks' big data strategy document for 2026. When looking at the goal, we see that Starbucks wants to make its services more efficient and reduce wait times, and they want to do that by boosting the AIM customer loyalty in the US from 57 to 60% by early 2026. So how will they do this? They'll use data to understand problems like the stores that aren't doing well based on data like high employee turnover and long customer wait times. By using this data, they can better improve staffing, reduce employee turnover, and make processes more consistent. What are the benefits to these? The strategy expected to reduce order cancellations, keep more customers, lower training costs for new employees, and increase productivity overall. Ultimately, it's about improving how they operate, cutting costs, and growing in a sustainable way. What kind of data are we looking at? So Starbucks will be looking at everything from store operations and customer information to employee data and online reviews. This data helps them look past trends, predict future issues, and recommend specific actions like adjusting staff or upgrading equipment. Looking at the the SDGs, tying to use cases as analyzing staff patterns, forecasting turnover impacts, and optimizing store staffing directly support creating stable, well-managed workplaces that reduce burnout and improve employee productivity. SDG 9 ties into forecasting overall strain and prioritizing equipment upgrades that leveraging data-driven innovations and infrastructure improvements to streamline operations and enhance overall customer experience. Additionally, we look at SDG 10, which through SDG 10, understanding turnover trends and optimizing staff ensures equitable workload distribution to these employees, as well as fair employment opportunities across the stores, reducing disparities between high and low performing locations. Finally, we look at SDG 16, using transparent data analysis to forecast performance, reduce cancellations, and make unbiased staffing decisions based on more accountable business practices that benefit both employees and customers.
All right, so for our first descriptive storyline, the user story is going to be as an operations manager, we're wanting to identify and remove underperforming menu items based on the prep time and sales data. so that the baristas can work more efficiently and reduce customer waste times. The acceptance guideline for this is going to be given the sales and prep time data is accurately collected and stored in a centralized system. When the dashboard is live and accessible to operational managers, then we can start to remove items and select samples of stores to track pre and post item removal metrics. The invest criteria for this, the first I is going to be the story can be implemented without depending on other stories, and it can assume sales and prep time data are accessible. So that makes it independent. Next is going to be what defines our underperforming items. This can be discussed and refined within our stakeholders. For our value, it's going to be what provides clear value by streamlining operations and reducing waiting times. Then we're looking at giving access or given access to required data. Effort can be estimated for analysis and implementation. And then we're looking at for S, focuses on single driver, which is going to be, again, that customer wait time. And then for T, we're looking at can it be tested and measured by reducing preparation complexity, improving speed, or increased satisfaction. And then in this little chart, we have our theme on the left, which is operational streamlining, which is using our analytics to minimize underperforming SKUs. Our epic is to analyze historical sales data and prep times for all of these menu items to make informed decisions on product introduction and removals to reduce these customer wait times. The user story was on the last slide, and then three tasks for this is going to be collecting and integrating sales data and prep times for all the menu items, and then developing a dashboard to visualize both those low performing and high prep time items. And then third is going to be establish certain thresholds to determine what qualifies as an underperforming item. And then here in this chart, we have a customer self-reported data set here. It's going to ask them how often they visit the coffee house, how much time do you normally spend, and how would you rate the service? And so we found that when people spend more hours in coffee shops, they tend to rate the shop lower than they would if they spent less time. As you can see at the bottom, people that spent below 30 minutes on a monthly visit rated it on 10, and then people that spent more than 3 hours in the coffee shop, even 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, all rated as one, and it's a pretty drastic difference. So we believe that some of this data could be important to Starbucks. Getting customers in and out quickly, giving them a short wait time is going to be very beneficial. And then it does check off all of our boxes for our definition of done. And this ties into SDG 8 that was just described by Joseph. And then for our second descriptive storyline, we're going to be a store manager this time in our user story, and we're looking to standardize operating procedures and implementing all of these standardized procedures to store locations all around the country. This is going to improve daily operations and improve the customer experience. For our acceptance criteria, when we are given a strategic operating manual that can be created and approved by regional management, and when all store locations have access to this, we can then monitor systems that flag deviated operations that are not in the manual within the first 3 months of implementation. For our invest criteria, our I is going to be depending on coordination across stores. This could possibly involve training, documentation, or compliance systems. For the N, we're looking at the scope of what procedures get standardized and what can be negotiated around these standardized operations. For our value, we're looking at consistency, directly enhancing the efficiency and customer satisfaction in the stores. For E, we're looking at or difficult to estimate, or the fact that it's difficult to estimate unless it's narrowed down to a specific category. And then for S, we're looking at focusing on measurable operating procedures that are already in place. And then it's only testable if these operating procedures are defined and measurable and the compliance is already in its place. All right, and then for our theme for this, it's going to be all about consistency, using analytics to identify successful operation procedures and then implementing these to every store location. Uh, I mean, these could be procedures that are very repeatable and efficient processes, easy to duplicate. For our Epic, we're looking at analyzing business procedures to identify which operation procedures create the most time efficiency and quality production, resulting in a higher customer satisfaction and sales performance. We just mentioned the user story on the last slide. And for our three tasks, the first one's going to be documenting current current operating procedures across several stores. For the second, it's going to be identifying and consolidating the best practices into a standardized procedure manual. Wow. And then the third one is going to be developing a training and implementation plan for all store locations to be able to follow. All right, and this chart from SAS Via is a chart about the sales performance from the years of 1998 to 2005 after they implemented their mass standardized operating procedure in 1998. So just over 7 years, we saw the average customer satisfaction score go up. We saw the product sales go up and the material cost, even though it also went up, the gap between cost of goods sold and the sales was a lot larger than it was before. And let's go to our last SDG goal for this, or it's on the next slide. This goes back into SDG 9 again, which was just explained by Joseph. So for our first predictive storyline, we're switching to predictive here. We're going to be a product manager under our user story this time, and we're going to focus on low performing SKUs based on regional and seasonal trends to simplify the menu and improve store efficiency. So our acceptance criteria here, we start with our given. If we're given the forecast results are available for all the SKUs on the menu, when we can identify these low performing SKUs that are either below sales or profit thresholds, then we can use a system that can flag these products with clear labels such as low performing. For our invest criteria, our I is going to be, can we run the SKU analysis without influence from other data sources or pricing data? The N is going to be the definition of low performing SKUs. How do we define that? It's going to be on low sales, low margin, and this can be adjusted depending on store demand. For value, we're looking at reducing menu clutter to improve prep time and customer experience. For our E, we're looking at can we estimate the time needed to build a SKU forecasting model and resources needed to build the effective KPI dashboard. And then S is going to be can we start with a single region or one single product category, for example, cold drinks. And then our T is going to be forecasting results that can be checked against actual SKU performance provided by our point of sale data and store KPI dashboards. And our theme for this is going to be focused on menu optimization. So we want to predict product performance to streamline this optimization. Our epic is going to be forecasting product demand to make proactive decisions that simplify the menu and improve the overall store performance. Our user story is what we just mentioned. Our first task is going to be collecting and processing historical sales data separated by SKU, region, and season. Second task is going to be to train a predictive model to forecast SKU level sales performance. And then our third is going to be to build a dashboard to visualize all these SKU forecasts and highlight the low performing products that need to be removed. This is another chart created in SAS Via. So this is from, I believe, the year 2020 to 2025, and it's the increase of the average amount of ingredient capacity that each store had to hold for each additional menu item. And as you see, from 2020 to 2025, every month it increased drastically as more and more menu items were added up until 2025 when the CEO announced that they are removing all, or what was it, 30% of all the menu by February to make it a less complex menu. And checks off our definition of done. And this aligns with our SDG 9 again.
So heading into predictive storyline 2, our user story is, as a store manager, I want to predict labor demand based on historical sales and foot traffic so that I can create a more efficient and fair schedule. The acceptance criteria is, given turnover risk levels are calculated, when the district manager logs into the system, then the dashboard should display a prioritized list of stores by risk level and notify relevant managers with automated alerts. So for our invest criteria, I is build demand forecasts without influence from the menu item sales or marketing data. N is use different inputs such as weather, events, or population data depending on what the store needs. V is predicting labor demand for busy periods, such as better staffing, cost control, and happier employees. E is estimate the time needed for cleaning sales data and modeling demands. S is research begins with one store or a one-time window, for example, a designated off-season period. And T is compare forecasted labor hours versus actual demand and shift efficiency. So our theme for this use case is workforce planning, and here we can use analytics to help predict staffing needs and reduce employee turnover. Our epic is forecast employee turnover and product demand to make proactive decisions and improve overall store performance. We've already covered our user story, and then our three tasks are to collect and merge historical sales, foot traffic, and employee scheduling data, to develop a machine learning model to forecast labor demand by time and location, and lastly, to create a dashboard for labor planning and shift optimization. So here in this bar chart, we've collected data on Starbucks revenue in billions by product. So our blue lines are beverages, our yellow lines are food, and our purple lines are other goods such as packaged goods or merchandise like Starbucks tumblers and mugs. And as we can see by this data, beverages have consistently been the products that bring in the most revenue. So what we can take from this is that it's important to focus our employee trainings on beverages, how to make them, how to be the most efficient, and focusing staffing on beverage stations rather than focusing on food and other merchandise as well. So this use case does address our definition of done checklist. And the SDG tied into this use case is SDG 10, so reducing inequalities.
All right, well, jumping into our first prescriptive storyline. Our user story is, as an inventory manager, I want to receive suggested reorder quantities for each product based on predicted demand so that I can minimize waste and avoid stockouts. Our acceptance is when given optimal reorder recommendations are generated, when the inventory manager logs into the dashboard, then it displays the recommended reorder quantities, forecast metrics, and critical inventory. Under the investment criteria for it does not rely on changes in pricing, supply chain, or marketing data. For N, stakeholders can decide to use daily, weekly demand predictions for stock buffers. For V, it ensures better inventory planning, which reduces waste and prevents product shortages. For E, we can estimate costs through measuring time to clean the demand data and build prediction models. For S, we can start with beverages in a single high loss region or a specific high turnover product chain wide. And finally, for T, compared predicted reorder quantities to actual sell-through and inventory turnout, as well as out of stock inventory data. Looking at the theme, it's a theme of inventory optimization, SKU simplification, and inventory planning with actionable reporting. For our Epic, Starbucks can use prescriptive analytics to receive data-driven recommendations on staffing schedules and menu simplifications to reduce cost, improve employee performance, and provide a consistent store experience. Once again, we just went over the user story. So the tasks for this is to collect and process historical sales and inventory data, then develop predictive sales and inventory usage dashboard, and then finally to utilize the dashboard to optimize techniques for reorder quantity. Finally, we look at the SaaS printout. We went through Starbucks's inventory turnover for the past 2023, as well as example data for coffee house uh, inventory sales to provide an outline of historical sales through data using historical transaction data through store sales and past inventory turnover metrics. Starbucks can leverage patterns in customer pricing and purchasing behavior and stock movement to forecast future sales and inventory needs. So in other words, they can build a new dashboard that provides real-time information about what customers are buying and what's in stock at real time. This helps make more popular items are always available, reducing that frustration for those loyal customers, as well as it helps reduce waste and save money by knowing exactly what to order and where to send it. So once again, the storyline met all of our definition of done and falls in line with the SDG number 9.
All right, so for our second prescriptive and last storyline, the user story this time is going to be from a district manager looking to receive action recommendations for stores at high risk of turnover so that We can implement targeted retention strategies before turnover issues can escalate. For the acceptance, when given, turnover risk levels are calculated, and when the district manager logs into the system, then the dashboard should display a prioritized list of stores by risk level and notify relevant managers with automated alerts. For the invest criteria, I is going to be that it works independently, not dependent on payroll, scheduling, or recruiting data at all. N is going to be that the definition of high risk can be defined based on tenure, exit survey response data, or absent rates. The value or V is going to be represented by and reduced employee turnover, which is going to be lowering hiring costs and improving team uh, continuity. And then E is going to be whether or not we can estimate costs through measuring the time needed for analysts to identify high-risk indicators and generate a suggestion model. Six is going to be, sorry, six. S is going to be, can we begin with a single small quantity of stores before scaling, large scaling, or focusing only on part-time employee turnover first? For T, we're going to be looking at whether or not we can compare measurements of turnover in high-risk stores who have been implemented recommendations and those high-risk stores who do not have recommendations. Our theme is going to be your workforce allocation, which is going to be optimizing staffing decisions and reducing labor inefficiencies. The EPIC is going to be receiving data-driven recommendations on staffing schedules to reduce and improve employee performance and deliver a more consistent store experience. Again, we went over the user story on the last slide. The first task is going to be collecting and analyzing employee data to relate that to turnover risk. The second one's going to be to generate actionable recommendations for retention strategies. The third one's going to be to create a dashboard with turnover risk heat maps and alerts. All right, so for this chart out of SAS, we took a data. It was sales data from the Q1, Q2 fiscal report from Starbucks, as well as their employee report. So as you can see, as Starbucks has more employees that are consistently scheduled, and they have more in their rotation for every store, the sale performance always goes up when there's more employees, as you see in the relationship in the graph. And it does check off all of our definition of done, and it aligns with SDG 10.
So overall, we've really highlighted how business analytics can help to drive operational excellence and sustainability at Starbucks. The 6 use cases have gone through a range of actionable insights that can help Starbucks use business analytics as a tool for operational improvement, and really just proves that investments in data-driven initiatives is really essential for navigating future challenges throughout the company and helping Starbucks to maintain their leadership position within the industry. Thank you all for listening.